गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरु साक्षात् परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः. Okay, so we were on the fifth verse. It was Bhagavanuvāca antaryatāmatirvidvan vahirāyāti chet punaha abhyasameva tāmahuhu jnanam hyanubhavochyutaha. He says in the fifth verse that, O learned one, if the mind having gone in comes out again, it is only practice, for knowledge is abiding experience. In our scriptures it is said it is an experienceless experience. Abiding experience, there is no one there to experience in the first place. So here, let's not go into that, let's just focus on this, that as long as you are coming in and going out, you are still in your mind, you are not established. Because you are thinking you are the mind. But when mind is going in and it has concluded in that, that means now it is not reacting to when it comes out, when there is a reaction, when there is a ownership, when there is the variety is affecting, then it is individuality, then it is the ego. But if there is nothing disturbing and you are established in the essential self, as the essential self, that is what is talking here as the abiding experience. Now this is the language that has to be utilized in order to explain. Abide. You are abiding or not abiding. You are abiding in this temple means living in this temple or not living in this temple. So before the mind was not in the self, it was in the world, now it is abiding in the self. It's very it distracts you from the actual, because these words cannot pinpoint what it is actually, because words are limited, they have a beginning and end, they are limited, they are finite, they cannot illuminate the truth. And therefore when it comes to communication, the language has its limitations. So when he says it is for knowledge is only abiding experience. So what is this knowledge? It is self-abiding, just like when we say the sun is self-illuminating. So which means it does not need any other light to illuminate. It doesn't need sunrise or sunset to say that it is the sun. It does not need day or night to prove that it is the sun. Sun is self-illuminating. Similarly, this self is self-abiding, and that is true knowledge. And that is something each one of you as a seeker has to dive deep into and come to recognize that at this stage. Continuing. And as long as it is a practice, as long as the mind is coming in and going out or coming in, it is called practice. That practice is called as upasana. Upasana means upa asit iti upasana. Sitting, asana is sit, upa is near. Sit near. Sit near what? Sit near the self. So you have left the world and come and have come to the temple and sitting near the Lord or the satsang. This is a very physical way of putting that you have left everything out there and you are sitting here focused on the Ramana Maharishi's Sri Ramana Gita. Now go within. Are the senses going out? Here also, within the room, your senses are on the book, on the words, on the verses, on listening to the word. Your senses are involved in some outside stimuli continuously coming to you. So, are you focused on the stimuli including the words that are coming, or are you introverted at this moment? See? Then inside, suppose all this stops, and inside, are you focused on the thoughts going on in your mind, or are you focused on for whom are the thoughts? It's relative, na? Bahar se andar aaye. So from outside world you came to the temple, now this is inside. Now within this inside, this is the outside, and mind is the inside. Then within the mind, thoughts are the outside, consciousness is the inside. See? So you have to keep going deeper and deeper and deeper. So here when he says that it is, so when we are consciously doing the upasana, this coming in and going out of the mind is called upasana. When this coming in and going out stops, then you are, then alone, then and then alone, you are abiding in the self continuously. But as long as this shunting is going on, that means the world is still having an impact on our mind. In other words, we have, why is it making an impact? We still have not given zero value to the world. Some aspects of the world, like just like few minutes ago, the rice, in spite of Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu and 3 Oms, the rice was going on. Live example. So as much as I was thinking, Om Guru Brahma Guru Vishnu, I am thinking, when will this finish? And I must not forget that I have to stop the video and remind someone to put it on. Itna it had taken over my mind, that thought rice. But there is no vegetable. Only rice, salt, and butter. आ जाएगा तब तक. When that state becomes steady, it can be turned jnana. When the in and out is not disturbing us anymore, the mind is abiding in its source, then it is called as jnana state. But from that point onwards, there is no objectivity. Because objectivity is only for the individual or the ego. Ego is dissolved because mind is dissolved. There is no objectivity. Then that point will come afterwards. How does the master see the rest of the world? Continuing, Vaidarbha uvacha Jnanasya munisardula Jnanasya munisardula Bhumika kaschidhiritaha Shastreshu vidusham shreshthaihi Shastreshu vidusham shreshthaihi Katham tasam samanvayaha Vaidarbha uvacha together Vaidarbha uvacha Jnanasya munisardula Bhumika kaschidhiritaha Shastreshu vidusham shreshthaihi Katham tasam samanvayaha. He says in the 6th verse, O best of sages, again, these are question answers. Our Ganpati Muni, Vaidarbha, he is asking, O best of sages, great scholars have mentioned in the big scriptures several stages of jnana. How are they to be reconciled? You are saying there are no stages through which you have to go through to realize the truth. But the scriptures are saying Shama Dama Uparama, Shama Dama, वो हो गया है यम नियम आसन प्रत्याहार प्राणायाम प्रत्याहार धारणा ध्यान समाधि शमदम उपरम, that is another. Shruti, Shravanam, Mananam, Nididhyasanam is another way. Listening, reflecting and contemplating. Again, step by step. You cannot come straight away, jump into contemplation because of our experience. This is all these things that are written in the scriptures, the various stages, Mooladhar, Swadhishthan, Manipur, Anahat, Vishuddhi, Agya, and Sahasrar. So all these are from observation and practice. Then and then alone they have put it on the paper. They have noted it down. But these are all step by step. They are, something has to be practiced in order to get somewhere. So here he says, how do we reconcile with what is written in the scriptures, that the jnana, meaning jnana, knowledge, is equal to the self, is equal to liberation. It's immediate, instantaneous. I will add one more word, always. That's not given here. Always. There has been never a time that you are not realized. That you are not. Has there been a time that you are not a woman? Has there been any time from birth till today? Always, isn't it? But woman is never worried or disturbed or out of sync. The mother is out of sync, the wife is out of sync and having problems, issues, desires, aspirations for the family or for the daughter or for the relatives or for whatever role you have taken. But where are those roles? They are existing in their own absence. They are not there, they are phenomena. Woman is the real one. She has no problem. Take that separate example, now you come to the woman itself. Who is woman? Body, breath, mind, intellect. All problems are for body, breath, mind, intellect, not for the consciousness. So step by step we have to, this is what the scriptures say. But Ramana Maharishi is saying the realization is instantaneous. How do we reconcile? And this doubt, sometimes it may have come to your mind. I don't know if it has come to your mind, if you are contemplating that in this manner. Should I go? Why do they say it is instantaneous? Why do I have to practice step by step? Why do I have to do Vaikhari Madhyama Pashyanti Para? Why do I have to do yoga, pranayam, pratyaya, dharana, dhyan, samadhi? Why it is written again and again, abhyas, 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 when knowledge is instantaneous? Someone said in the last class, because we do not accept it. We do not accept ourselves to be the woman. We always accept ourselves as some role. Here also you are accepting yourself only as a student. Or you are accepting yourself as a listener. At home also you are not accepting yourself as a woman first. You are always accepting yourself as a mother, daughter, sister, etc., etc. You are never coming to the original. That is the problem. That needs to dissolve. That needs to dissolve. And that, let the mind dissolve. But you don't forget that you are coming. So, how are they to be reconciled? Ramana Maharishi is again and again making this point that liberation and knowledge, in liberation and knowledge, there are no stages, there are no steps to be followed. It is immediate, it is instantaneous, it is always. And that you are. To imagine to say that there are stages involved to come to that point of realization, liberation, those various stages are for whom?
Individual.
Put another word to it. To the seeker. Seeker is again a personality. Seeker is again a personality. It is existing in its own absence. It is a phenomena. You have taken on the hat of I am a seeker. So seeker is imagining, oh, it can't be that easy, man. It's instantaneous. I am already that. Please don't say. don't make me ashamed, that I am realized. नहीं, आप महात्मा हैं, हम महात्मा नहीं हैं. आप देवी हैं, हम देवी नहीं. नहीं. I am a papi. I have done so many sins. I have committed so many sins. This is what we go to. We are never ready to accept. Why we go into that angle of contemplation? Because suddenly the whole past flashes in front of our eyes. All the wrongs that we have done, and we say we are the sinner. Or all expectations for the future come, and we say, nahi, I've got so many things to do, and then, realization, I think I'll have to do a lot of things to get to that point. What does a wife have to do to be the woman? Die. Die. Only to be resurrected again when the husband comes. But die. See. What does a father have to do to be a man? The father has to die. Give you one more example. What does a waker have to do to go to sleep? The waker has to die. Meaning dissolve, melt away. There is no remnants of waker in the sleep, isn't it? In other words, there is no one in sleep to say I am sleeping. Similarly, there is no one in realization to say I am realized. There is no one left behind. So those who imagine stages, that is only because of their foolishness. That is only because of our insistence that we are a seeker. It is our insistence that I am a acharya. It is our insistence that I am not realized. It is our insistence that there are steps in order to realize. It is our insistence. That itself is an error. Wherever if at all you have to insist, you insist again and again, I am of the nature of the truth. Like you insist, I have to go to sleep. Insist. Why you insist the other way, which is not going to give you any conclusion? So here, Ramana Maharshi is he's emphatically saying that both liberation and knowledge are one and the same, and there are no stages involved in it, and only different scriptures are giving different stages, and that is depending upon who has written that, who has observed that phenomena of the various stages, and they are helpful, no doubt they are helpful, but that is not knowledge. Studying of Upanishads is not knowledge. Studying of this Sri Ramana Gita is also not knowledge. What it is indicating but is not able to say, that is knowledge. Now in the 7th verse, he says, Bhagavan uvacha shastrokta bhumika sarva शास्त्रोक्ता भूमिका सर्वा भवन्ति परबुद्धिगाः मुक्तिभेदा इव प्राज्ञा ज्ञानमेकं प्रजानताम् together Bhagavan uvacha शास्त्रोक्ता भूमिका सर्वा भवन्ति परबुद्धिगाः मुक्तिभेदा इव प्राज्ञा ज्ञानमेकं प्रजानताम्. O wise one, Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi is addressing Ganpati Muni, the Vaidarbha Muni. O wise one, all the stages of jnana mentioned in the scriptures appear even like distinctions in mukti only to the mind of others. For those who know, jnana is but one. So for whom are the stages? for the onlookers, not for the one who is abiding. See. There are two standpoints. What are they? One is the standpoint of one who is looking at the process, and one is the standpoint of one who is going in the process. The one who is established, not in the process, sorry, the one who is established. So one who is observing the process, even within yourself you can be the observer. Hey, once upon a time I used to eat 10 laddus, now I'm eating only 1 laddu. Once upon a time I used to take sugar in tea, now I take no sugar in tea. Once upon a time my body was not flexible, now it is flexible. Once upon a time I was not interested in scriptures, now I am interested in observation. Once upon a time I was only up till my knees in my consciousness, now I have reached Mooladhar or Swadhisthana or Manipur. Little bit I'm rising in consciousness. Before I was never able to sleep, now I sleep standing also. Observation. You also say that I am going into samadhi. It is your observation that I was in samadhi. But only when you come out of samadhi. See? So I am in samadhi, I am in meditation. All these are observations. So as long as you are observing the process, who is observing? That is the question, man. Where is the process? In the mind. In the body. In the body is also a thought in the mind only. So you are observing the mind. But what about the Mahatma who is established in the self as the self? What is he observing?
Himself.
He also has eyes, he also has the mind. What does he observe?
Not everything.
Without a thought. Without a thought. For him, everything is the self. So really speaking, there is no observation, and yet observation is going on. So those who are onlookers of this Mahatma, they say, oh, you see, he was for 3 days, like Ramana Maharishi used to sit for 2, 3, 4 days continuously in silence. Who is observing? The people are commenting and they are writing it down when we see the commentaries. But you ask Ramana Maharishi, he was in his natural state. Was I silent? For him, everything is just as it is. No comments required. See? So when the other people are observing, the Mahatma, they are seeing he is hungry, he is feeling sleepy, or he wants to organize something, he wants to heal someone, he becomes angry at someone. They assess the Mahatma based on this data. But is there any two Mahatmas who are behaving the same? Are there any two Grahasthas here in this group behaving the same way? No. So everyone is unique. Similarly, each Mahatma is also unique. So are you a woman? Yes. Are you a woman? Yes. So woman is common denominator, but behavior of everyone is different. Self is the common denominator. Self is the common denominator. But body, breath, mind, intellect of that Mahatma, which other people are observing, is going according to his or her prarabdha. See? And what is prarabdha? Those samskaras, those impressions which have become fructified. That is prarabdha. There is sanchit, there is prarabdha, and there is agami. Sanchit karma is all those impressions that you have accumulated over lifetimes or this lifetime. What are they? That is the programs you have interacted with life intensely, not equanimously. Intensely, with desire, with emotion, with reaction. Whenever you do that with life, it goes and remains in your mind as a memory. Waiting to come up when the right environment presents itself. See? So out of that Sanchit, the bad balance of the karmas, some of them have fructified. That fructification is expressing as this body, breath, mind, intellect, equipment. Not the self. This body, breath, mind, intellect. Self is always. So this particular body, so Satya Sai Baba, he does miracles. Ramana Maharishi, he sits in silence. Ramakrishna Paramahansa, he dances in ecstasy. Neem Karoli Baba, he takes the full bottle of LSD and swallows it. Nothing happens. Each one to his own. Each one to his own. But people assess Mahatmas. Ramana Maharishi, oh, he's not doing anything. Satya Sai Baba, oh, Shirdi Sai Baba, great. This happened, that happened. When they are interact with them also, if something happens to them, then he is a great Mahatma. If nothing is happening, कुछ नहीं है. Isn't it? If today though, if Mahatma has a big palace, he is a very successful Mahatma. If Mahatma is living in a jungle, I think he is a very poor Mahatma. If he can't manifest a palace for himself, what sort of Mahatma he is? Because here the attention is on what we can get. But every Mahatma, like Siddhas, so many Siddhas are there. They are all one with the truth. But they are expressing. Some of them are showing the powers, some are able to heal, some are doing the Ayurveda, some are doing the Jyotish, some are teachers, some are sitting in silence. Each one is different, but the consciousness is the same. So there are these two standpoints. One is of the people who are looking at Mahatmas, the realized masters, and one is of the seeker who has come to be established in himself. So the seeker, the individual, when he has come to know himself, is there any individuality left thereafter? No. But for others, he is still an individual. For others, he is still an individual, but for the seeker, every Mahatma began as a seeker. Every Mahatma, including Shirdi Sai Baba, including the Dargah Swami, some of you have met, including Ammachi, read her biography, including Shankaracharya, including Krishna, he also went to a teacher. Ram, he also went to a teacher. Jesus, he also came to Tibet and Afghanistan and India as a student. For 16 years he was traveling. Everyone was a student. But something shifted and they came to abide. After the abidance, there is no more practice, there is no more duality. There is no more duality. They are one with themselves. So these are the two standpoints. Why we are talking about them? Because we are still objective in our approach, therefore we are talking about the various stages. We are not subjective yet. We have not got established yet. So because for you to see what is the disposition of the Mahatma, you have to also be the consciousness. You also have to be the consciousness in order to know from where the Mahatma is functioning, where Ramana Maharishi is, what he is calling as knowledge. You have to not know the knowledge, you have to be the knowledge. See? Knowing and being have to become one. For us, is in our mouth and he is there in the statue. Knowing is in the mouth, statue is outside. There's so much distance. Or Ram is in the mouth, thought of Ram is in the mind, and the story of Ram is in the Ramayana, in front of us. When this distance between the speech, the thought and the object, it becomes one. You go beyond the three. You go beyond the nature, the relativity. We have to get to that point. Then it is true knowledge. Because as a seeker, who are you? You are a waker. In the waker, you are a seeker. And you are considering yourself to be the body. You are considering yourself to be limited consciousness. I am only this person. I was born at this time. If someone says, oh Mahatma ji, aa jao. Nahi, Swami ji, don't call me Mahatma. Swami ji said, okay, gadhe aa jao. जब महात्मा बोला तो मानते नहीं, गधे बोले तो इसको कैसे पता चला? We are not ready to accept. And this is all within our mind. You watch this game of the mind because you are always, at any given moment in your life, you are always the witness of your mind, isn't it? You are always the witness of your mind. Otherwise, how could you remember your memories? If you are the memories, you cannot remember. You are objectively interacting with the memories, therefore you can recollect them. So here he says that when knowledge of one's own natural state is firm, whenever one does or does not do, self-attention never waves, whether we are in the world, whether the mind is manifesting or the mind is unmanifesting. The self never wavers. In a normal person, what happens? The self gets identified with the manifestation of the mind, which is called as waking and dream, unmanifestation of the mind, which is called as deep sleep or samadhi. Remember these four. So where is this fluctuation taking place? In the mind. Why is it taking place? It is the nature of the mind. What is schizophrenia? Water imagining it is all the waves and not able to keep them in control. पागल हो जाएगा. वही अपना हाल है. So many roles we are playing. If we are on top of the roles, we will mature nicely. If we are disturbed by all the roles that we are playing, then we get disturbed, irritated, confidence goes down, depression comes. Who is God? Who is the master of the whole world? Where is the whole world? In the mind. Where is the mind? It is his potentiality. And who is God? The master of his potentiality. Are we the master of our potentiality? Master doesn't mean keep it in control. Master means remaining equanimous, undisturbed by what is undisturbed by the involvement of the mind or the withdrawal of the mind. Because that is the nature of the mind at the relative level. But we do not forget. Again, how do we not forget? It is in the mind only. We are attentive, just like you do not forget you are the man or the woman. You do not forget you are the father of the wife or the husband or the daughter. You keep holding on to that role. Somewhere deep inside, that connection is there. You find out what that connection is. What is that connection? Even though you are consciousness, you are still considering yourself to be the body. What is that connection? You explore. Or for any role that you are playing, then replace it with consciousness that I am all the time ever the undisturbed, the eternal witness of everything that is going or not going on. No, for that, it can happen right now while you are listening, or it can happen after some time. But it will only when you are available, then it will happen. It will not happen by fluke. We have to accept that. So here when he says, so all the differences that are seen is only on account of the impressions. Now in the 8th verse, he says, where are we? 8. चर्या देहेन्द्रियादीनां वीक्ष्यारब्धानुसारिणीं कल्पयन्ति परे भूमिः तारतम्यं न वस्तुतः together चर्यां देहेन्द्रियादीनां वीक्ष्यारब्धानुसारिणीं कल्पयन्ति परे भूमिः तारतम्यं न वस्तुतः. He says, observing the movements in the jnani's body, senses and mind which occur according to prarabdha, others imagine the stages. In reality, there are no gradations in jnana. So where are we observing the changes? In the body. First the body was moving, now the body is sitting silently. First the prana was erratic, now the pranas have become slow and shallow. Before the mind was agitated, now the mind has become calm. Before the eyes were unstoppable, they are blinking here, they are thinking. Now they have become calm and cool, they are hardly blinking. These are the observations. I keep telling you, my grandfather, he was sitting, and one day before I was going to work, he was sitting in front of the heater. The block heaters used to be there. He was sitting there, 82 years old, 83 years old. So he said 3 ohms. Before the 3rd ohm, he was gone. I was sitting on the chair. Only one heater in the house that time. So I was also sitting there. And I was watching. This fellow is absolutely still, like a rock. So I kept my oatmeal kept aside, because he used to make it for me every day, for himself and myself. Then I waited, look. Then I pulled one hair, put it under his nose, hardly moving, very slight tremor in the I'm saying blade of hair. What is that? A strand of hair. Hardly. Then I took courage, because he was not even moving. I put the hand on his heart. Hardly any heartbeat. मेरे को हो गई खुजली. I immediately called work. I said, I'm not well, I'm not coming. And when my grandfather came out of meditation, I said, where were you? Where had you gone? Where had you gone? So then, there and then, he initiated me. There and then. But then all the experiences in meditation that I have had before, in previous 7-8 years, all of them repeated. He gave me a particular type of breathing pattern, and I started doing that. All the experiences came. But these experiences only come as long as you are doing the practice. I stopped the practice, all the problems came. I start the practice, all the good experiences came, and the problems went away. Then one day it came to after one year quarter it clicked that I am going wrong somewhere. Why I got caught up in a cycle. I practice, problems go away. I don't, no, when I practice, problems go away. When I don't practice, problems come back. Mind is calm, mind is at peace, I'm full of energy. But how is this again and again, this shunting is going on? So, who is thinking? I am thinking. Why am I thinking like this? Because essentially I am the observer of this phenomena that is taking place within this body and within this mind. I have not come to the point that I am the observer. Till now, I have not come to the point that I am the observer. I am observing the phenomena and getting disturbed by the phenomena. But mind is phenomena, it will keep doing that way. Unless, then what is the solution for this to shunt out of the phenomena? I did not know. And then I started taking the name of the Lord. But this is again, before the phenomena was at the body level or the breath level, now the phenomena was at the mind level. Taking the, please put audio, volume down, whoever it is. So now the phenomena is of the mind. But still, whether you are going through from Vaikhari, Madhyama, Pashyanti to Para, it's the phenomena of the mind. From gross to subtle, subtle to causal, causal to transcendental. But it is, that journey is still where? Is it in the self or is it in the phenomena of mind? It is in the mind. And if you are doing that practice and when you finish the practice, you come to a conclusion, oh, today it was deep, Why? How could you make that conclusion? Because you were observing. Where was your attention? Outwards. When will this conclude? When the observer becomes aware of the observer. Attention has to be on that. It's not possible. Yet attempt. Be available to yourself as you are, in spite of all the comings and goings, ins and outs. And that is what is said here, that observing the movements of the body and the senses. And because of what are the movements of the body and senses and the mind? It's not because of your will. This is foolishness. This is only initial. In the beginning stages, we say you can change your destiny. You can change your prarabdha. You can change your destiny. That is all for the beginners. It's good. You have always been the self. You are the self, and you will continue to be the self. Where the question of effort in between? So where is all this? That you can change your destiny, you can change your reality. All that is for that stupid fellow. Who is that? The ego. It is only for the ego. But who are you? You are the infinite, essential, unchanging self. But when you are not there, then we have to give some story. So this is the story. So that we purify. Who? The individual purifies. So that he can, at least he creates a window of opportunity for himself to be available to himself. That is the silent mind. That's why it is said, keep doing the abhyas, keep doing the abhyas, keep doing the abhyas. So here, observing the movements of the body and senses caused by karma, others imagine differences in stages. In essence, there are no changes, there are no gradations, there are no stages. It is only because you are extroverted in nature. When does a disciple become a guru? When does a disciple become a guru?
When he abides himself.
When he realizes the guru as his essential nature, independent of name and form, independent of thought. Do you know you are alive? All of you are alive? Do you know that others are alive? How do you know? You will say, oh, because the hands are moving, because others are breathing, because others have a form, because others are moving. Where is your attention? Only on the equipment. But I can show you equipment can be, car is moving, is it alive? Nowadays automatic cars, Tesla, you don't need to do anything. It will, everything the program will do, AI. So, is it conscious?
No life.
So somewhere you know, our attention doesn't go to that point, that the consciousness in all of us is the common denominator, it is the same, it is the one and the only one, but we, because it does not, we are not trained ourselves, we are not quiet enough in our mind to catch it or to be it, therefore we superimpose that consciousness on the name and form, on the equipments, and start describing that consciousness with reference to that particular equipment, or here in this verse with reference to the observation of the various stages that are happening in the body. Okay. So today suppose Dinesh is sitting here, or you, some of you are sitting, and I have seen 5 years ago, 10 years ago that you are fidgeting. Today you are sitting quietly. So what is my state? Oh, he has realized his body has become very calm. Observation, but what the observation is where? About what? About the body. About the body. So we only assess every one and all only from equipment's point of view, their behavior point of view, their habits point of view, their words with reference to their words, emotions, etc., etc. Their actions in life. From that we assess them. We never see them as the consciousness, which is none other the consciousness that I am. We never see it from that point. That is where the Mahatma is abiding. He sees everything as one only. Whereas we are seeing him only from equipment point of view, not from pure consciousness. Can you see pure consciousness out there? Can you see pure consciousness out there? No. The doorway to out there is only through being. You have to be the consciousness in order to see. Well, there is no outside after that. Because consciousness by nature is all that there is. See? So in this manner, where are we? Which verse we were on? Ninth now. Vaidarbha uvacha prajnanamekada siddham sarvajnana nibarhanam tirodhatte kimajnanat sangadam kuritat punaha. Together, Vaidarbham vacha prajnanamekada siddham sarvajnana nibarhanam tirodhatte kimajnanat sangadam kuritat punaha. In the 9th verse he says, once self-knowledge, the destroyer of all ignorance, has been gained, will it disappear on account of ignorance sprouting again through attachment? This is the student asking. Ganpati Muni is asking. You must have also had this question sometime or the other. If you are contemplating, if you are listening to satsang on a regular basis, I'm sure that this thought must have gone through your mind. See? But we never stayed with that thought and found a conclusion to it. Therefore, we have to come to satsang and read these scriptures where some students like Arjuna, like Parikshit ji, like Ramchandra ji in Yoga Vashishta, Parikshit in Bhagavatam, Arjuna in Bhagavad Gita, have taken, they are holding on to the thought and they want conclusion. Arjuna didn't want conclusion, he wanted conclusion only in the world. Parikshit wanted the final conclusion. He never got distracted with all the stories. 18,000 verses were given to him. He did not get distracted. He kept his focus on the consciousness. Therefore, before death came, 7 days later, last moment was coming. Before the last moment came, permanently escaped. Permanently realized. Permanently, there's no word permanently realized, but he realized, he got liberated. After that, the snake came, bit him. But the snake bit what? Inert body. There was no one to call, this is my body. Till that, I am the body. Till then, Parikshit was there. Liberation, Parikshit was no longer there. See? So here when he says, so this doubt is presented. Once knowledge which destroys ignorance is attained, will it end by the resprouting of ignorance through attachment? This is presupposing that where is ignorance and knowledge? In the mind, right? Relative knowledge is in the mind. He is saying that suppose the mind is abiding in its source, it has dissolved itself completely of all objectivity. It is abiding. Just as it happens in Samadhi. In Samadhi, the mind has dissolved all the thoughts in the mind, comes to abide in its source, and it is there. So Ganpati Muni must have attained that stage of Samadhi. Now he is asking, is that knowledge? If the mind becomes activated again, meaning again the thoughts get activated, will the abidance get corrupted? Will the abidance get corrupted? Yes or no? The woman is there or a man is there. The roles are coming and going. Once you have realized, many times we have repeated this example, once you have realized you are a man or a woman, do you get corrupted by the roles that you are playing?
No.
So next time, no reaction, huh? At home. Intellectually you know it. Intellectually you know it. So man is not corrupted by the roles that he plays. Woman is not corrupted by the role that she plays. Because for man and woman there are no roles. So all the problems and aspirations of or happy joys and sorrows of the man, of the husband are not for the man. Joys and sorrows of the father or daughter or sister or brother, they are all for those roles, but not for the man or the woman. So if we come to the man and get unaffected by these roles, what is it called? Vairagya. It will be just at that level, forget consciousness. If you sort this out, that all these roles are only phenomenal, I am the man, you will have vairagya towards the world. Then when you come to the body, then hey, am I this body? Am I this? Hands, legs, senses. Then if you, what is behind this? Then you come to the mind, then you have vairagya for the senses and the organs of action. Oh, I am the thoughts. I'm watching these thoughts are coming and going. Where are these thoughts coming and going? What is the basis? They cannot come and go in emptiness. There must be something. What is that? Who is knowing this? I am. Then you will have vairagya from the thoughts. Now you are abiding in the self. To come to this point, everything must have subsided, dissolved. But how long can mind remains dissolved? It will not permanently. Its nature is flux. So when it gets into flux again, does our abidance in the self as the self get corrupted? This is the question. What's the answer?
No.
Who said no? No in what sense? Tell me.
That it won't go
Become
back
weakness.
Go back who? What?
to the worldly things again.
Who will not go back?
Who developed the vairagya.
Okay. The one who has come to abide, one's mind is completely dissolved, become one with its essential nature, and this I, who is there? When we say mind, I am saying I because I is doing the sadhana. I is the seeker. When I is completely dissolved as a thought and comes to know it is the infinite consciousness, as the infinite consciousness, after that the individual mind comes or goes, it does not matter to the consciousness. It does not matter. This you can practice. When the child, when the child is first crying, you are reacting because new mother. But every time you respond to that child, no, I should not say new mother, new grandmother. My pillu, oh run here, run there, run there. After some time you get exhausted, then you just sit, you watch, that child is crying, थोड़ी देर में ठीक हो जाएगा. If you give attention, it will continue crying. So you show as if you are not watching. You are busy with your, that little child, it will cry for some time, then find another, distract itself with some toy. You are not, then you come to know, hey, children are like that only. Children are like that only. I should not lose my sleep because of them. I should not be disturbed because of them. When do you get disturbed? When you are attached, overly attached to them. See, same way. When we are once we have come to know whether the mind is coming and going, it does not matter. Two ways to look at it. From the realized master's point of view, there is no mind. From realized master's point of view, there is no mind. From God's point of view, from God's point of view, is there a mind?
That's their Shakti.
There is no mind for God also. For Ishvara, there is no mind. Why? Mind is unmanifest. Avyakta. When mind becomes, the Shakti becomes Vyakta, manifest, because it's a nature. Unmanifest, manifest. Does Ishvara get affected?
Won't that be total mind?
Pardon?
Total mind?
Our total mind is called Avyakta. Total mind is one principle, but it has got two polarities, manifest and unmanifest. Unmanifest, when it is unmanifest, it is called Avyakta. When it is manifest, it is called what do you call it? The Saraswati, Lakshmi and Durga, or Parvati. But does Ishvara get affected when it is unmanifest? No. When it is manifest, does Ishvara get affected?
No.
Because when it is expressing, the Shakti is expressing as Saraswati, Lakshmi and Parvati, Ishvara is expressing as Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh. Are they three disturbed because of the Shaktis? No. See, so that formless, attributeless Ishvara is not affected by his Shakti or mind. The manifest Ishvara with Guna, Naam and Roop, if we are given that attributes, Saguna Ishvara, Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh, they are not also affected by their Shakti, their consort. We are affected by our mind. We are affected by our mind. Brahmaji also knows one day he has to go out of existence. Shivji also knows. What do you call? Vishnu also knows. Has that role. They know they have to go out of existence. But that does not disturb them. That does not disturb them. Because they know they are the infinite one. Whether as Ishvara or as the total principle of creation, maintenance and destruction, they are doing the roles. But in essence they know they are the indestructible one. See, do we know that? That we are the indestructible one in spite of the waker, dreamer and sleeper? These are the three heads we have, no? Or are we disturbed with every dream? We are disturbed with every waking, and we are disturbed with why sleep is not coming, or why is it not long enough? And we create new problems for us on a daily basis in the waking. There are infinite creativity is there to create problems, because we do not go with the flow. When you are with the flow, whatever is meant to happen will happen. Let it happen. You remain equanimous. But in that happening, no, I think better than $100,000 income, 200,000. Big disturbance begins. I think I don't know, so I must go to satsang. Disturbance begins. I'm not saying don't go to satsang, but the intention behind. Are we here because we are ignorant, so we have come? Or are we here with the, chalo, this has presented to itself and you are equanimous and it is better than everything else? If naturally the life takes me there, I'll go there. It will come eventually, if it is not already happening. Actually, every event is happening the way it must happen. We have to just realize it. So here he says in the 10th verse, Bhagavan, so this was the question, is there will it end by the resprouting of ignorance through attachment? Because we got detached with ignorance, we contemplated on the truth, we realized the truth, gained the knowledge that I am of the nature of the knowledge. By abiding in it, ignorance is destroyed. He is saying, after realization, will ignorance again sprout up, and will my mind again get attached? Will the I again get attached to things and beings like it was before? This is his question. The answer, Bhagavan Uvacha, we have already answered, but let's see what Ramana Maharishi says. Bhagavan Uvacha अज्ञानस्य प्रतिद्वन्द्वी अज्ञानस्य प्रतिद्वन्द्वी न पराभूयते पुनः न पराभूयते पुनः प्रज्ञानमेकदा सिद्धं प्रज्ञानमेकदा सिद्धं भरद्वाजकुलोद्वहः भरद्वाजकुलोद्वहः टुगेदर भगवानुवाच अज्ञानस्य प्रतिद्वन्द्वी न पराभूयते पुनः प्रज्ञानमेकदा सिद्धं भरद्वाजकुलोद्वहः. He says in the 10th verse, the final verse of this chapter, O light of Bhardwaja line, once self-knowledge, the opposite of ignorance, has been attained, it can never be overcome. Just as once we have come out of our room, why there is no room, light in my room? Idiot, you are not opening the window. You opened the window. Oh, sunlight, it is so bright. I thought it was night. Acha, now you are seeing the light. No, but this is too hot, this is too cool, it's not warm enough. But what is the source of light? The sun. And you travel to the sun. Now they sent a probe which has gone to the closest to the sun right now. And it is not melted. I don't know what type of probe it is. So it has gone to the sun. Suppose you go to the sun. How? Get out of your body and go there. It is possible. मजाक नहीं कर रहा हूँ. You can travel anywhere you want. If Ramana Maharishi came out of his body, everyone sometime or the other in your life, without a doubt, go through this experience. Have you recognized that this has happened to you, or you went into such a deep shock and of fear that you shut it out of your memory that it has happened to you? Majority of the time, it is the second one. And when you are told, and when that memory is still disturbing you and you don't know what is going, then you go into drugs and drinks. But if you take it on by the horn, कि क्या हो, ये क्या है? What is this that has happened to me? Ramana Maharishi did that and became a realized master. Because he didn't shy away from that experience. So, O Bhardwaja, once knowledge, the opposite of ignorance. So once we have come to know sun is, because when we look outside the window, there is day. If I keep looking outside the window, after some time night will come. Then again day will come. So, अच्छा ये कैसे हो रहा है? Why? Where did the light come from? Oh, they say it comes from the sun. Now you move out of the house, go through the door, come out, and you look upwards, and you see the sun. And you see the sun. From sun's point of view, there is no light and there is no dark. The concept of ignorance and concept of knowledge does not exist for the self. Just as concept of light and day and night does not exist for the sun. Sun is of the nature of self-effulgence. It's self-illuminating. We are using those words because we are observing. You call the sun, he says, I am. Story over. He won't even say that. Oh, thank you for giving light. He says, I don't know what is light. Thank you for removing darkness. He says, what is darkness? I don't know. Same is with the realized master. He is abiding in the self. So where is this knowledge and ignorance? If ignorance is by way of thoughts and knowledge is by way of thoughts, then they will keep shunting. Because where are you knowledgeable? In waking. Where are you stupid? In dream and wake. So maybe you are more intelligent in dream, I don't know. And you are totally ignorant in deep sleep. Totally ignorant. So as long as you are in the mind, this shunting is going on. But when you have transcended the mind and come to be established in the self or as the self, here he says Once self-knowledge, the opposite of ignorance, has been attained, which knowledge? Not thought knowledge, thought-free knowledge, the self. Thereafter, ignorance cannot entice such a person, that ignorance cannot overcome this abidance. See, when we were in the ashram, we were listening to this example of wave and ocean and water again and again and again and again. It's only an example. And one day Swamiji took us to the beach. So one hotelier, he invited, they had redone their whole hotel, it was right on the beach. And they invited all brahmacharis, all 20, 30, 40 of us. All of us went by bus, they organized the bus, and a huge buffet. And in front, the chopati, there the sun, the ocean is there. And after nicely hogged like anything. New brahmacharis, no? And where we are getting hotel food every day. Every day same dosa, idli, vada, the same rice, same dal, same sabji. Every week the same menu was repeating. And suddenly we get something like this, attack. And then suddenly after food, what happens after food? Energy goes to the tummy, mind becomes empty, it feels sleepy. In that sleepiness, everyone's feet went towards the ocean, towards the beach. We went to the beach, and all of us are standing like this. Water, ocean, wave. Ocean, water, wave. Beach is Swamiji. The new brahmacharis, they are contemplating. What is there to contemplate? It is all water only. What is there to contemplate? A crystal of water, crystallized water, ice, is nothing but water only. Crystallized consciousness is nothing but consciousness. But your attention is on the crystallization. Your attention is not on the essence. When your attention is on the crystallization, it is called ignorance, because you're missing the point. When your attention is on the essence. So we are all looking at the consciousness itself. But our attention is on the crystallized consciousness. So when we come to abide in our true nature, thereafter, the ignorance cannot have sway over such a person. Ignorance cannot have such a person, then how will he function? You observe, read the biographies of various masters, read the life stories. We have all been, some of them I have sent you, or you have also been reading. And that is what we have to get out of that. That how these masters, living this life, living in family, living with children and grandchildren, living with their husbands and wives, and everyone was not a Sati Savitri, everyone was not even Ramchandraji had to send his wife away. See? So in each family there will be ups and downs, understandings, misunderstandings, because each person is going through their own journey of life. To blame anyone, you are creating more, you are then going to remain in the mind. Then what to be done? Accept this is how it is. Be equanimous. Equanimity means accepting what is taking place without any reaction, and not expecting anything to happen in some other way. Because if you expect, again you are creating more problems for yourself. There is no guarantee that expectation will be met or not, and if it is not met, then you will be miserable. So remain equanimous. Allow the life to unfold, because that which is unfolding by way of experiences, by way of thoughts, by way of health and disease, all this is your prarabdha. That is the blueprint with which this equipment has come. You are not the equipment. Initially you understand that. How you are all the equipment, that he will present you that vision once you abide. But we are, what do you call the word? Masochist. Sadist is a person who enjoys giving pain to others. We enjoy giving pain to ourselves. The one who enjoys giving pain to himself or herself is called, the word is masochist, not sadist. And how do we do it? By wrong conclusions in our life. Once we were coming back from Char Dham, and Swamiji was there, and Swamiji said, I'll show you one game. And what is the game? Someone was singing nicely in the front, one girl, and he called someone. This is 95, and he called someone, the batch previous to ours. He said, Sumati, you know, and you just laugh, okay? And he laughed. And then she looked back and just, someone has taken your name. Continue. Again he called someone, Sumati. And she said, Swamiji, Sumati. And kept quiet. And then they purposely did not look at her. She again looked back. Third time when it was done, are you talking about me? Sumati means good mind. Sumati, Mati means intelligence, Su means good intelligence or good mind. So we are not talking about a person. But what is she thinking? There is no one in the bus by that name. They are talking about Sumati, and then they are laughing. They must be cracking a joke, taking me as an example. I want to be part of that. What mischief they are up to? What are they talking about me? And she got up and she turned around, and there was nothing. Swamiji did not say one word into the ears of those three people. And they just, and they said, Sumati, they laughed. But this person, they imagined all those things. And then, when she looked back and she kept asking, what is it? Tell me now, tell me please. I also want to join in the joke or whatever. And everyone was laughing. Every time she opened her mouth, then I also want to know, they laughed louder. Because there was nothing to talk. In the end, she started crying. Swamiji allowed her to cry for 2 days. She didn't talk to any one of us. Not the brahmacharis, not us also. Because it was such a big joke. Nobody talked anything about her, yet this is masochism. You create pain for yourself. What was being talked about? Sumati. Common mind was being addressed. But she said it was my mind. This is not what we do to ourselves every day. So that was so all these problems, this self-sabotage stops. This self-sabotage is the ignorance. Once we come to abide, once this I comes to abide in itself as itself, then I am the changeless one, and it comes to that conclusion without a thought. It's out of direct experience. What is direct experience? Aparoksha anubhuti, which does not take a support of a thought. Because the moment thought comes, it is mind. The moment you say I to yourself, you are in the mind. Are you, again a question comes, are you because you are thinking, or you are, therefore thinking happens? Thinking is in the mind. You are not because you think, you are in spite of thinking. So when you come to ascertain the true nature of the I, which is the changeless principle, thereafter ignorance cannot have a sway on the knowledge. With this, the Ramana Gita concludes. Iti Shri Ramana Gitasu Brahma Vidyayam Yoga Shastre Ranante Vasino Vasishtasya Ganapate Rupa Nibandhe Jnana Prapti Vicharo Nama Saptadashodhyaya. With this is the 17th chapter entitled on attainment of Jnana in Sri Ramana Gita, the science of Brahman and the scripture of yoga, composed by Ramana's disciple Vashishta Ganapati. Vashishta Ganapati, another word for him is Vaidarbha or Ganapati Muni Shastri. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti.